Up, everybody? Back for another edition of the Ad Podcast. Today, we've got a really cool B2B marketer or a marketer from the insurance industry, which some of you guys might not think is the sexiest industry out there. But I think the part of the industry that Ryan is working in is really fascinating. It's a new way of buying insurance for your extended warranty after you get a new car. Do you guys cover used cars too, or just new?
Actually, we predominantly cover used cars.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's even
I can
better.
talk about that too. I can tell you if you should buy the warranty with the new car, etc. We can get into that.
Awesome. So as much as this is going to be a story about his rise to co-founder and chief marketing officer at Chaiz, and also prior to that, he was a marketing leader at Zebra, another company involved in the insurance industry. Also at Custom Inc., he led marketing prior to that. So Ryan, thanks so much for coming on, man. I know we've been trying to get this one on the books for a little bit.
Yeah, we have. It's been a while. Some unfortunate events, some just like conflict schedules. But yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I'm happy to chat.
All right, man. Well, let's start off with your origin story. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up, where you went to school, what did you study, and then how did you get into the marketing profession and specifically around kind of the insurance industry?
Yeah. So I grew up right outside of DC in Northern Virginia. My passion for marketing actually started in high school. I had a class that was fairly new at the school. It's called Sports and Entertainment Marketing. And we played fantasy football as part of the class.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then we had like some cool guest speakers that would come in about like being a sports agent and stuff like that. And I was, I played baseball my whole life, all the way through a little bit of college too. And so I was like, oh, sports and marketing together. That sounds like pretty interesting. So I went to Virginia Tech after I graduated high school. And you could probably see the helmet back here.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And so I studied marketing from the get-go. I know a lot of people come in undecided and they try to figure it out, but I was like, I want to do marketing. So I studied marketing at Virginia Tech. And then after that, I couldn't really land a marketing job that I really, really wanted at a big brand that was interesting to me. So at a career fair, I met someone from GEICO. They had a booth there. And I was like, GEICO, like, I love your commercials. I see them all the time. The gecko. It was like a little bit before the caveman came out. And they said, well, yeah, we don't really hire marketing people right out of college. You have to kind of learn the business and stuff like that. What we do have is what we call like an emerging leaders, is like a management development type program where you actually like learn the business at a regional office first. And then you could kind of decide where you want to go. You could, stay with that. You could be in sales, service, claims. So I did that. So I worked at GEICO right out of college in Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is about an hour or so south of DC. And I rotated through a bunch of different departments, and nothing was really super enjoyable to me. But I did get my property and casualty license, and so I know quite a bit about insurance, and that's been helpful in my career. And then I did that for about a year and a half, and then I transferred to GEICO's corporate office in DC. On their marketing team. And I was one of 4 people on the digital marketing team back then. This is a 2000.
Wow.
So it was nothing like it is today. Programmatic wasn't even a word anyone used. And I was on digital marketing. I remember interviewing and I had no idea, what a pixel was or like what targeting is or anything like that. So I learned SEM on the job, and I learned like affiliate marketing and display, and just fell in love with it. So I stayed at GEICO for about 6 years, and by the end of my tenure, I was leading the digital marketing team. So yeah, that's kind of like the genesis of it. And I stayed in insurance for most of my career, and now bit like insurance. It's not technically insurance what I'm in, but it does like protect your car and pay out. So you're kind of like insuring your vehicle, but for breakdowns instead of getting in the car accident.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to spend a little bit of time on GEICO because, as much as we sometimes think about insurance being this kind of ethereal product where you can't touch it, you can't go to the store and, run your fingers through it. it is a category that I think it's one of, if not top, it's one of the top 3 categories for marketing.
Yeah.
And all of them kind of seem to lean into this idea of humor, and it's very memorable. And you kind of immediately, if you say any of the major insurance brands, you can almost immediately picture their mascot or their most current campaign and market. So I think that was pretty prescient of you to, take that opportunity to go through the management program, learn the industry, and then get to be so early on the digital side. What were some of your favorite experiences from working in like a huge insurance brand like that as you spent the 6 years building up and leading the digital team?
Yeah. So when I was there, we spent about $1 billion in total on marketing.
Wow.
And the digital marketing side of it was the smallest. We spent probably 100 to 150 million. So the really cool thing was when I got into more of like a managerial type role, all the leaders and the respective department heads would get together and we would work like together and see how things start to kind of like piece together. So when we're running like TV ads, how are we connecting that to organic or SEM search and stuff like that? And so it was really cool. It's like my first like foray into like omni-channel marketing and how does like a whole marketing campaign exist. And beyond that, it was just, I was still young. I was in my early 20s and just being around really smart people. And like these people were, geniuses at marketing, and we used the Martin agency in Richmond. So getting to work with them and seeing like how they think about things and how they bring ideas to life, it was just like super interesting. What I'm doing now is like the flip side of it, because we've got super small budgets and we have to really focus on like performance-based marketing. So it's quite different. But just like learning the power of branding is something that always like stuck with me, because at some point, at Chaiz, I want to be a household brand too. And now I've got like the chops to kind of like bring that to fruition when the time comes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I love that story that you mentioned from high school, being exposed to a class that actually got you thinking as a high school student and got you prepared to decide what major you wanted to do. I had a similar experience in my Spanish class. We made a film for our final project, and we had so much fun making this film that I was like, man, if I'm going to go to school and study for something for 4 years, I think I want to go to film school. Kind of parlayed that into advertising and digital as well. But I wonder, in your time at GEICO, I imagine you got to flex your muscles a little bit as a sports marketer too. You guys were, was there any sports marketing programs that you got to work on and kind of, live out that dream of working on the sports side? Because I know GEICO sponsors quite a bit of athletics.
Yeah, I would say I benefited mostly from the perks of it instead of working on it. Yeah, so the sports, the outdoor division was their own like separate division.
Okay.
But like it's still my job to work with the Washington Nationals and making sure we had like landing pages that were co-branded, and it's just that synergistic thing. You see something in a stadium, you go to GEICO / whatever. I had my team and I had to build out the home pages and track the visits and see if like we could piece together, what's the ROI on some of that stuff. But most of it, I was like the benefactor. I got to go to numerous things, anything crazy from like WWE Monday Night Raw, front row seats to I went to a World Series game. So the perks were really nice.
Yeah, well, when you putting $1 billion in market, I'm sure there were all sorts of reps that were chasing you down to get to do fun things. So
always, I mean, we would go to conferences and you go to like the exhibit hall, and the joke was always like, hide your badge, because all the salespeople are going to see GEICO and they're going to go ching ching ching.
Yeah, it's like a radar that they're locking in on.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into Chaiz a bit. So I want to spend some significant time there, because I feel like we need to, spend some time educating the audience on the category. I think also what's exciting is you're not just the CMO, you're also a co-founder. Right. So what was the insight that got you thinking about this business model I know you had a personal experience that we can maybe touch on that now, and I'll talk about mine later as well. But you did have a personal experience with a car that I know was frustrating for you and quite, expensive. So I don't know if that was like the inciting incident in its entirety, or if you're already thinking about it a little bit before. But I always love entrepreneurs that start off to solve a problem that they themselves experience because they get obsessed about it. So can you maybe start off with a little bit on the insight and what you guys set up to accomplish?
Yeah, sure. The way it happened was a bit serendipitous in a way. So previous to Chaiz, I was the head of marketing at the Zebra,
Mm-hmm.
which is like one of the largest comparison marketplace for insurance products, mostly auto and home. And I was a very early employee, and kind of took that company from Series A to Series D while I was there. $1 billion valuation, unicorn status, all that good stuff. And I was there for like 4.5 years, and the company got really big. We were over like 400 employees, and I kind of missed like the old days of, rolling up your sleeves and doing the work yourself, and like more of that entrepreneurial type spirit. So I always wanted to do something and branch out on my own. And the idea, I had several ideas in my head and actually started working on something else. But then, yeah, as luck or bad luck should have it, my car broke down. I had a 2012 BMW, and I never drove it because like the pandemic, and I walked or took a scooter to work. So it only had 59 or 58,000 miles on it. And I pulled into my garage one day, and there was this weird knocking sound, and I was like, this doesn't sound good. So I took it to my trusted mechanic down the road in Austin, Texas. And he took it back, and he said, yeah, that knock that you're hearing is what we call the knock of death. Your engine you could drive another 1,000 miles on it, or it could like break down completely on the way home. And I was like, well, okay, like how much is that going to cost? He was like, well, you need like a new engine. It's gonna be about $10,000.
Holy cow.
And I could tell, like, he just saw the look on my face, and I was like, what, the $10,000? And I remember he said, I hope you've got an extended warranty on this thing. And I didn't. And so when I got home, I started like researching warranties, and like I knew it wasn't going to be useful for me because they don't cover pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe this is a product you should have, and so people, like, I don't have to go through this again. And so when I was researching, I found the industry was super antiquated, and the way that they got you to the front door to sale was just like something I'd never seen before. You'd go through, and they would ask for some information, and then they would say, okay, well, leave us your phone number, we'll give you a call. I was like, no, I want to see pricing online. They wouldn't even show.
Yeah, this is the 21st century.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't even know what the price is, and like, so I got to call you to give me a price, and like, where do I look to see what's covered and what's not? Or are you just going to try to sell me this thing over the phone? And so I was like, not only do I have to do that with one provider, I've got to do that to like 4 or 5, because like I'm used to the Zebra where we compared everything all at once. You could check things out apples to apples. I found out that didn't exist. And so with my background, in the auto industry, and with the comparison marketplace background, I was like, well, this is it. I think this is a good idea. And so I started working on that. And like I said, as luck would have it, one of my connections was actually starting to build something similar. And he was getting the backing of an early angel investor that actually owns auto dealerships. And so the three of us kind of powwowed. Also, we had another co-founder too, that's our CTO. But we all kind of powwowed, and we, shared notes on like what we knew. And that was kind of like the genesis of it, because the auto dealership owner, he knew like the ins and outs of the warranty business. And with like all the three co-founders, our expertise combined, we were like, yeah, we could do this. We could tackle it, because he was saying, I mark these things up like crazy. And he's like, I mark them up 3 to 4x. I make more money selling the warranty than the car itself.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so we started looking at like the margins and we say, oh, we could take this to the masses at a much lower price point, because if we do everything digitally, we don't have to have the overhead that they do. And like, we don't have to pay for call center and employees and sales commissions. And so we knew we had a good idea. And then, yeah, I mean, that's how it basically started. So that's how we hit the ground running.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you had kind of some initial insights around some personal experience, and as you started to build towards an MVP, then you kind of came together with some other colleagues who were, sniffing around the same concept. And then it's interesting that it came from the dealer. I think about like Carvana coming from the dealer as well. Do you think, or at least, that you had some insights or some like you're thinking of it from the perspective of the dealer first? Do you think that has continued to be helpful, or has that informed your roadmap? Like, is that kind of like, because that's where I experience, the extended warranties that I've purchased in the past is when you're in there buying it. I bought one on my RV when I bought my RV a couple of years ago, and I bought one on my wife's Lexus lease, which was her first car that we leased after getting married and, through college. So that seems like a very logical place, right? Because that's the place you're buying the car. And most people maybe, once you drive off the lot, if you don't drive off with the warranty, maybe you don't come back and think about it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. The auto dealership owner, he taught us a lot of the tricks, I would say, that they do once they get the person like in the box, as they call it. Like they sign, how you go to a car, you buy the car, and they get you in like the little finance and insurance, like F&I box, and they try to sell you on a multitude of things. But like the dealerships, I mean, you said it yourself, like 95% of this product is still sold in person or over the phone. And it's crazy. And like most people, I've talked to so many people that said, oh, I could get a warranty like through your website. I don't have to go to the dealership. And he's like, yeah, you can get it whenever you want. I said, and he was like, what if I already have a warranty and I'm overpaying for it? I was like, you could cancel it. It's just like, insurance, you could cancel it and switch. And people don't know that because it's not really, the dealerships don't really tell you that. Right. And they just like, okay, this is like a 3-year extended for 3 years. And the other thing is people don't know that you could get it after the fact. You don't have to say yes to the car, the dealership person on the spot. So people are saying, oh, well, I thought you had to buy it. And if you don't buy it, then you're like, you drive it uncovered. I was like, no, you could buy it anytime you want. And so that we have to do a lot of like education as well, because people just don't know about this product. They think like I have to buy it now at the dealership or I can never buy it again.
Yeah. So as much as you're marketing yourself and your brand, and you're marketing the category or a new way of transacting in the category, as much as your brand.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, to my earlier point, yeah, just people just don't know that you could buy this like pretty much whenever.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. So, well, on that note, like, where do you spend most of your time in channel now? So is it education? Is it, doing like content marketing? Like what's working for you to get the word out right now?
Yeah, right now we're really focusing on 3 things. I would say our competition, CarShield and Esurance, like those guys, they spend a lot on TV advertising. Some of the factors are, some of the numbers are pretty crazy, especially like what CarShield spends. So they're doing education for us in a sense, where they're saying like, if your car breaks down, it's going to you have to pay out of pocket. And so you should buy this product. So what we have to do is re-educate the consumer that yes, you should get this product, but there's a better way to buy it, and likely at a much, much better price. So there's like a lot of education and content marketing that we're doing around that premise. Like you should go online and buy it and compare. We're the only comparison site that exists, and we've worked with over a dozen different providers now that you can compare apples to apples. And so it's that. We also are, the genesis of the company is like we wanted to do this online, so we are a tech forward company, And so we are able to actually power the flows of third-party sites. So if you're working, if I do deals with peer-to-peer car selling sites, finance related type sites. You think about like loans or refi, where we could actually, the Chaiz technology can actually power their flow. So they could either white label it or just have a simple flow where, they already have the VIN number, the make and model, and then you could get pulling the quotes from Chaiz directly on their site. So that's how I've been working on these distribution deals that way. And then lastly, we are focusing more lately, like doubling down on organic and really like the LLMs of the world.
Yep.
Because we think that our competition, they spend 90% of their budget on daytime direct response TV. And so I think that, they are probably got like LLM and, the chat GPTs in the back of their mind when they get to it. But we think if we could kind of like be the forerunner and kind of lead that, it'll pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, it sounds like, if you're investing in television ads, still pricing might be effective there, but chances are you're probably not thinking about, chatbot optimization or much less search engine optimization, right?
Yeah, I have a funny story. One of our, I won't say the name, but a big competitor of ours, they emailed us and they said, my CTO just emailed me, and they said, have you heard anything of these Chaiz guys? And she said, oh yeah, we know about them. They're like a comparison marketplace. We actually might work with them too, to like get our product more distribution and be one of their comparison, providers. And he was like, I had never heard of them, but I was messing around with Chat GPT and they kept coming up on the top. So that's how he found us.
Wow.
And so I think that's how a lot of people are finding us too. And so another thing that I'm focusing on, as a startup, I have to wear, many hats, is our customer service and our reviews, because that is a huge component on what the LLMs kind of read and what influences their decision making.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so we've got over 100 reviews, so it's not like crazy, but we're the top ranked warranty company out there right now. So we've got a 4.8, I believe, on Trustpilot right now.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that was part of kind of what the LLM models are looking for, like authority is reviews, and that's actually a good thing to hear. Provided that it's I know there's a lot of like review gaming and things like that, but for the most part, that's a pretty dependable source. Yeah. One thing I want to take a step back that I forgot to cover in the beginning is, a lot of the folks who watch the show, they're marketers, they're people at agencies, but they're also entrepreneurs and they're also, venture capitalists, et cetera. So we talked a lot about the insight, and we talked a little bit about how you kind of came around to the MVP and the partnership, but we didn't talk much about the fundraising process. So What was it like going from a marketer to a founder? And what did your early stage raises look like your seed raise, and where you guys are today? Like, tell me a little bit about the financing journey.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. It took a lot of time, and I think that time could have been better well spent on building the product and going to market a little bit better. It was just bad luck. I mean, when I was at the Zero, we raised, our last round was Series D for $150 million. And like, I felt like we had like suitors. They're like, we wanted, and so we got to pick like who we wanted to say, okay, you could be our investor. And so when I started Chaiz, like the economy and the market for fundraising just kind of like flipped on its head.
Right.
And it was like really, really tough to raise. And so we were doing like everything we could. We went through an accelerator program. And like at that point, it was, even to raise a pre-seed, it wasn't just about like an idea anymore. You like actually had to have numbers.
Yeah, you have to have like MVP and traction now in order to even get
Exactly. Yeah.
funding.
Which like was not a thing anymore, or even through like seed. Like most people for seed, it was just still like an idea. And so it was tough. It took us a good year to get to pre-seed even. And we raised about $1 million for pre-seed. But it got close. I mean, we were kind of really worried about like, we were not paying ourselves and stuff like that and getting like really close. It was just all on the angel money. And then seed raise was a lot tougher because we were looking for, 4-ish million because we wanted to like grow the team and all that stuff. And that was really tough. And when we started doing the fundraise, a lot of there wasn't a lot of people in like even investing at that point. They're very selective on their investments, and our product, it's not a sexy product. And some people on it say, I hear this all the time, that has like a bad reputation. Just the warranty industry. So we had to try to convince people that, it does kind of have a bit of a gray cloud over the industry, but we're the ones that trying to fix it. We're trying to be the white knights. And it was tough because B2B SaaS was like where all the money was going at that point. Now it's like AI and all that stuff. And so it's like the flavor of the month with investors, I feel like sometimes. So we talked to, honestly, I think we talked to like 80 different firms until we started getting a bit smarter of doing less of like a shotgun approach, and to VCs that were very, focused in like certain lanes, like fintech, for example, and auto tech, for example. And we just really started to hit them hard and do presentations to them and get them on the phone and show them numbers. So it was a process. It was about like another year until we got our seed raise, which was last July. So not last month, but 2 Julys ago, we got a seed raise of about $4 million. But that one, it was even close to where we were getting really close to watching the bank account go to zero. We were praying hard and, trying to get as much as we could in terms of numbers wise, but luckily we had like good numbers. If we didn't have the good numbers, I don't think we would have landed the investment. So luckily, yeah, I mean, the other thing too, that was hard to convince some of the investors is like, they couldn't really relate to the product. We were talking to some, somewhat more junior people at these VC firms, and
and they're like they're leasing a brand new BMW every year. They don't have these problems.
Yeah, or they didn't even have a car. They're in San Francisco or New York City, and they're like, I've never even heard of this. Like, what's an extended warranty? And so so like once we started like focusing on these more like auto tech firms, like Automotive Ventures is on our cap table now. Like they got it immediately, and they're like, this makes sense. This should have been invented already. I'm glad you guys are doing it. So I wish we kind of like focused a little bit more on like the fintech, the insurtechs, the auto tech guys. But yeah, you learn your lesson on the fly sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Well, and then were your seed round guys, were your angels strategic, or were they just high net worths, or what was kind of the makeup of your angel rounds?
Early on, we really had just the one backing of the auto dealership. And so it was strategic in a sense of like he would be able to guide us and tell like, just watch out for these pitfalls, and like, this is what dealerships do. You should try this, but do it in a better way. So luckily we had him because he kind of knew the industry, which was like a perfect fit. And honestly, to give him credit, it was somewhat of his idea too. And because he was like, I've been selling warranties, the old way, the current way, for the longest time. And he's like, at some point, someone's going to evolve this and make it better. And so I want to be invested in that and instead of being left behind.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I think the lesson that I'm learning is that your financing strategy is a marketing strategy too. You have to design, how you're going to communicate to your audience, but you also have to come up with a specific ABM strategy of like, don't just talk to VCs anywhere and everywhere you can find them. Figure out, especially if you have a business that is more niche or needs, more sophisticated understanding than just kind of your run of the mill, I don't want to call them generic, but like VCs that invest in kind of those massive, what they would consider like moonshot style ideas.
Right.
Then you need to kind of drill down and, figure out what your total addressable market is and go after those people who are going to get it first. So it'll save you a lot of heartache and time.
Yeah. And then along with it, I mean, you also have to like market yourself too, because, at that stage, yes, they're investing in an idea and they want to return on that, but they're mostly investing in the team. So that's why, like, I had some inroads in like the insurance arenas, just, because I've had 20 years experience in insurance. We were a little too early for some of like the bigger insurance investors, but they opened doors to other investors, because in the VC community, especially at the early stage, everyone kind of knows everyone. So it did help like doing the shotgun approach first, because they say, I'm probably not a good fit for you, but let me connect you to these folks. And so just like that kind of like networking was super important as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Sometimes I think a lot of founders, maybe they don't even know where to start. So you just talk to anybody who will listen, and that kind of leads to the next, logical place. So
yeah.
All right, great. Well, let's come back to the marketing. So I love this idea of you guys kind of optimizing for LLM, and I've heard a lot about just the general problems that are affecting the industry right now with traditional SEO and SEM spends kind of falling off because people are not spending as much time in Google during what I would call like the buyer's journey, right? So you're now maybe 50% of the time going to Google doing searches, but even in Google, now you've got Gemini at the top of the screen, and maybe you're not going past that during the research phase. But what's interesting is Google still gets last click, because even if you start in Gemini or if you start over in ChatGPT, once you get to the answer, you still generally go to Google it and then click through, right? So you're still kind of getting the demand level people, but you're compressing the research phase is staying more up funnel out of like being able to get people to your website so you can pixel them and then kind of follow them around with messaging. And you're not getting them during the research phase. You're gonna have to like drive the demand more top of funnel, like in these LLM environments. So you talked about reviews being something that you've noticed helps improve your guys' results in some of these searches. Anything else that marketers should be thinking about in the bot optimization space or the LLM optimization space that you've encountered?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert at this, because I don't know if anyone is at this point, because it's all still relatively new to people. But yeah, the reviews are super important for sure. So we not only are focused on Trustpilot, but also consumer affairs and consumer advocate, and also just trying to get a lot of content about us. So we work with some companies, and you could even see like we post on LinkedIn all the time, like we're doing PR releases. So when we do a new deal with Self, or a new deal with like Propel or some of these bigger companies, like we try to do a press release just so they give us a backlink, and then that helps too, just like SEO does. Another one that is our biggest focus, and it is a really tough nut to crack, because you have to kind of game it in a sense, is Reddit. And so we're putting a lot of focus into effort in trying to see how we can master Reddit, because people talk a lot about everything on Reddit, including extended warranties, and what's the best company? Does this company actually pay their claims? And so we've got a whole little task force, and when I say little, it's 3 of us, going after like how do we figure out Reddit, because that's another big key indicator for the LLMs. So it's like the real reviews from like the more the Trustpilot, the actual review sites, and also like what are people talking about in these different communities online.
That's interesting. Yeah. And, Reddit's notoriously hard to infiltrate with marketing because it's managed by moderators. You can obviously buy, you can buy ads in those spaces, but, you can buy ads around the keyword warranty or extended warranty. But as we all know, it's the organic conversation that drives more trusted results. And sounds like you think it also drives some of the authority around the LLM. So what are some of the tactical things that people can do to insert yourself into the Reddit conversation without running afoul of the moderators?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, we've tried so many different things and have been blocked or temporarily banned. But we do have, like, some of our folks already have, like, enough karma where, we seem somewhat authoritative when we're on there. So I mean, honestly, what I've done is I've, like, commented and messaged on different communities that are not even related to extended warranty to kind of get my karma up. And then, so it looks like I've got more authority when I'm actually talking about extended warranties in some of these subreddits and these threads. And like, we don't do anything like, gray hat or black hat at all. It's just like getting the name. Sometimes I don't even mention Chaiz. I just say the smartest thing to do when you're looking for a warranty is shop online and compare online, because if they're like, oh yeah, let me compare extended warranties, then they'll find us because we're the only comparison site.
Yeah. So again, it's more using it less for brand awareness, but more letting people understand the behavior model and evangelizing the category. And
exactly. And it's a fine line, because they'll bust you if you're trying to really promote something. But if you're out there educating, then that's fine. They want people to educate, and it's really Reddit's job, to kind of, point you in the right direction and help you make a good decision. So that's what we try to foster. The other thing that we're trying, and I don't know if this is going to be successful or not, but I think it will be, is we're starting the conversation. And so I own the, it's /car owners now. I'm the moderator myself. And so I'll go in there and say, hey, like, what's the most expensive repair on your vehicle that you can avoid by maintaining your vehicle, or how often should you really get an oil change? So I'm trying to, like, start the conversation too. So then, like, I'm also the moderator, and so, like, also just like, so anything that could be educational or authoritative, that's at least our strategy, like TBD if it works, but it looks like it's promising so far.
Wow, that's interesting. So was car owners not claimed, or did you have to go and, like,
no, it was like my 98th different try on to get something that was relevant. I found that one. I was like, let's just go with it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Like trying to find like a good domain name,
Yeah, totally. I mean, Reddit's awesome. It's such a great resource. And I think that's why, is because they make it incredibly hard for marketers to game it. So, and like you said, gaming and adding value is different. Like, if you're adding value to the conversation, you're evangelizing, helping people save money. That seems like something that everybody should be excited about. So, all right. You talked a little bit about, I don't know if this is the right way to phrase it, but maybe, like, is an STK or an integration the right way to talk about how you guys syndicate your technology so people can kind of run quotes inside of, say, peer-to-peer marketplaces and some of these things? Is that a good way to frame it? Is it an STK that they can install on the site, or what is the technology exactly?
It's just an API they could tap into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So I'm thinking, like, direct consumer car industry is probably a massive opportunity, right? Like, I've either purchased or sold my last 5 cars through Carvana or Vroom.
Yeah.
Is that something that's on the roadmap, or have you guys had good conversations or traction there? Because it seems to me that
we've had,
my generation and under are buying cars that way more often now.
Yeah, I mean, in the first place, everyone researches now, is online, and a lot of people do a purchase 100% online too. So the big ones right now, like the Carvanas of the world, Carvana's got like their own Carvana Care program. So they're already they're already in bed with one single administrator. What we've had luck with is there are a lot of auto startups out there. And through our investment in Automotive Ventures investment in us, I should say, they know a lot of folks in the industry. And so we've made some good inroads on some of like the more of the smaller to mid-size peer-to-peer marketplaces because again, I mentioned in the beginning, like we predominantly do used cars, because new cars, they have like a factory warranty that, lasts for like 3 years. And then if it falls off, then it's completely out of pocket if you have a breakdown. So that's like where we're going. It's like more focused on these startups, because one, they're like nimble, they're super nimble, and like they could get our tech integrated in their flow in like weeks. Where like I'm working on this one deal and it's under NDA, but they're like they're actually like the biggest car seller in the US.
Wow.
But like the deal, it's been a year so far and we haven't gone live, just because like it just like takes too long. And like we got to start thinking about Series A fundraising soon and hitting like the metrics we need to start raising like that. And so I'm more focused on some of these like smaller, more nimble peer-to-peer marketplaces for the most part. But there's also another interesting category that our lead investor, actually Resilience VC, they're actually based in DC. Their whole premise and thesis is how to make consumers more financially resilient. And so they like us because we've got a product that helps people save money and budget better, and not pay out of pocket for unexpected expenses. The financial wellness category has been a real good one for us too, because people are looking for ways to save money.
And I think the other kind of I guess but the thing you always hear these days is that half of Americans are one auto repair away from missing, basically being destitute. Like they don't have enough savings to take a hit like this in order to just absorb that. So it sounds like that's kind of an interesting insight when you kind of hear that repeated ad nauseum. It's kind of an interesting insight that you can tap into to say, yeah, you are one auto repair away from not being able to pay the mortgage or put food on your table or pay rent. So you better do something to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly. So there are a lot of financial wellness sites out there that we power, and let people know that, and for those folks, like the lower to middle income, their car is their number one asset. And if that thing breaks down, they're not getting to work and they're not getting paid. A lot of them don't have the luxury of being able to work from home. And so again, like our pricing is just so much better because we cut out all the unnecessary markups by going digital. And so for them, especially, having the protection on their car in case it breaks down is just a complete peace of mind for them, because yes, they get it's a whirlwind for them if their car breaks down, because they're like, do I pay my car note then, or do I pay the rent, or do I get my car fixed? And so just like get like one less thing for them. That's kind of like where we're focusing right now, and that's not really where our competition plays. So they hope they don't hear this and kind of steal my ideas, but they could try. They can't compete with us on pricing. But yeah, so we're finding like these little niche verticals that have a lot of synergy with us that you wouldn't really think about on the surface.
What just came to mind? Have you explored the rideshare economy, or the economy that essentially businesses that rely on a non-owned fleet? Like it feels like if an Uber driver, has a car repair issue and can't get their car back on the road, that's meaningful for them, but it's meaningful for Uber. You think of all the other industries that are powered by fleets that they don't actually own, Amazon third-party delivery, Grubhub, taxis, etc. Is that something that you guys have explored or thought about?
Yeah, we're tackling that in two ways, and I'm glad you brought it up. One is there is, I think, the biggest community for rideshare drivers. It's like, it started off as a blog. I've got a deal sitting, in my email box that I'm almost going to sign to kind of go after those folks. Because to your point, if their car breaks down, their income dries up.
Yeah, it's money.
Yeah, and then two, we're working on a big deal with an employee perks network that has Grubhub and one of the major rideshare companies within their network. And And we think that our product will be super relevant for them. And they agree. And so they're like, yeah, we want to get you in front of like our employees for that reason. So this is not many people know this. So if you're listening, you know anyone, or you are an Uber or Lyft driver yourself, that if you go through most websites or I should say call or dealerships for that matter, and you get an extended warranty, it often does not cover rideshare drivers.
Interesting. So you might be sitting there with a worthless piece of paper.
Exactly. And a lot of people find out the hard way when the car breaks down. They take it in. They're like, oh, you didn't buy the commercial add-on that you're supposed to. It depends on the provider. Some providers just have commercial add-ons. Some have actual rideshare add-ons. Just about 2 months ago, if you go to Chaiz.com now, we lay it out right in front of you. Do you need an add-on for this? And you could buy the add-on 100% online right through us and be completely protected. And so like the worst thing that could happen is when people are paying for something and it doesn't pay out for them.
Yeah. That was my experience when I, bought the extended warranty on my wife's Lexus. And turned it. I mean, Lexus is never going to break down during the lease period. But what I had dirty little kids, running around that thing. And when I turned it in, they're like, "Oh, it's excessively dirty." And I was like, "But I purchased the extended warranty." And they're like, "Well, we're going to charge you now, and then you can go file." And then it just never.
Yeah,
they make any kind of positive resolution.
They make it hard for it. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we're trying to solve. We're trying to make it super clear and transparent. So if you go through Chaiz.com, not only do we have the comparisons between different providers, we lay out exactly what's covered. We list over like 500 components on the website itself, and then we have add-ons. Another one is like luxury electronics is an additional rider that people don't know about. And seals and gaskets, which is also a big one. And you could add those on right when in the purchase flow through Chaiz. And not only that, like you could download the entire contract to see exactly what's covered and not covered before you purchase. And that's like,
wow.
Yeah, most people sign this and then here's your contract. And so we're all about transparency. And I think that's what the industry needs.
Do you have anything for the RV industry? Because that's been another experience for me. Like I bought a used RV. It was only 1 year old, only had a few thousand miles on it. But, as soon as I drive it off the lot, I'm switching on like fans that aren't turning on. And, RVs are notorious for kind of like the engines work fine. The mechanics of the vehicle work really great. But it's the little things inside the RV that kind of rattle loose and kind of become a problem. Do you guys have anything, or have you seen anything for that industry?
We've researched it for sure. We've researched what we kind of consider toys or power sports. We haven't seen anything like us in the markets for RV, motorcycle, even home warranties, which is kind of crazy. And then my actually best friend and ex colleague at the Zebra is the chief product officer at the Boats Group, and they own Boat Trader. And he was like, yeah, no one gets boat warranties. And then, those are boats are expensive. And so the good thing is like, we've got like a leg up on like competition because we've already built like the guts of it. So we could,
so you guys could expand into categories endlessly.
A product line, I think. Obviously we would have to build up the team and it would take some resources. We really want to nail auto and get that right first. And then, I think more of like, late Series A, Series B, it's an easy, evolution for us to expand into different product lines.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's talk about third-party data sets and targeting. Are there good data sets within, the walled gardens of Facebook and Google to find customers who have recently purchased a used car? That seems like very low-hanging fruit for you guys. There's also like Facebook Market, auto people buy cars on Facebook Marketplace, and you can kind of see when a transaction has been, you can't see it, but Facebook can.
Yeah.
How's the data out there for targeting this consumer?
It's not I would say like in my insurance world, we had a lot more data to play with. But we also asked a lot more personal questions, like demographic wise, like in quote flows that were necessary to target people. So if you go to chase.com, we don't even ask for PII. So we just need your make, model, mileage, and state, and we could give you a quote. And so we're not really collecting enough data for me to like model and go after like lookalike audiences too much like that. But we have found some databases that know when factory warranties expire on cars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so they know that there's a few databases out there that I use to do digital and also mail targeting. Say like, yeah, we know this person bought a car 3 years ago. And then I could easily just look up the make of it. I know all their cars have a 3-year factory warranty. And so that's when we start to hit them and say, your factory warranty is expired. Did you know that if you have a breakdown, it could cost XYZ and you have to pay out of pocket now? And so we do use some databases for that, but it's not as rich as what I'm kind of used to, which is fine because I always felt kind of odd using like credit score and stuff like that to go after consumers. So it's a little bit lighter than what I'm used to, but I'm sure I'll find like some other like good shopping triggers down the road that I haven't even thought of yet. I'm sure there's companies out there that'll have some kind of like data around that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I think in another interview I saw, a lot of the work that you guys have been doing is like partnerships with credit unions, trade shows that kind of focus on this, like the industry at large, so you can kind of network and meet with some of these other adjacent automotive companies. Organic social, seems like paid hasn't been a huge priority yet, but what are how are some of these other channels performing, like the credit unions, the trade shows, and the organic social strategy?
Yeah, I mean, credit unions are slow. We're still trying to go after credit unions and banks because when you refinance a car, you get a new loan. Oftentimes, they lump the warranty into the loan itself. And so when you pay for your car note, you're actually paying for the warranty in the car note, and you kind of don't think about it, so you don't cancel it. And but honestly, like we're trying to go after like more startup-y direct lenders. And we're finding interesting companies out there that are, more startup and like less institutional that can move faster. This like recently we just did a deal with a company that they offer credit cards to people, and your collateral or your, instead of your bank account or your credit score, what they use is your car ownership. And so like we're doing more deals like that with like these smaller, less like institutional companies just because they move faster. Yeah. And like, honestly, like with our tech that could live on third-party sites, they like that because the consumer could, get all the information they need without leaving their site. So what I'm really doing right now is since, I mean, we do some paid, but not like a ton. But I'm really using like the other brands' brand equity right now because they get a ton of users. Like this one, company I just mentioned, they have like 1.5 million customers. So I'm using their database to kind of fish for, and so instead of like going out through the masses and pay and using like paid resources to get after people, I'm trying to like find inroads through different like companies like that.
And then is the motivation for that company, the partnership, is it just rev share for them, some kind of an affiliate?
Well, it's two things really, especially like these financial wellness companies and credit unions too. Credit unions are all about the members, trying to keep them happy. So we're in a lot of those credit unions, like their customers already have extended warranties, but they could get often a better one through us at a much lower price. And so they're like, okay, well, if that's going to save my member more money, I'm going to keep them, happy. So it's that. But yes, we also do, it's not really a rev share. We kind of pay them just like a commission, like a flat fee commission.
Nice. Yeah. What has been the biggest marketing mistake that you've made so far, and what did you learn from it?
In my entire career? I'll stick with Chaiz.
You pick. You can go
Yeah, I'll stick
Chaiz,
with
or you
Chaiz.
can go, full Monty.
Yeah, I'll stick with Chaiz. With my paid background, it was just on my nature to like let's go out and just like start spending a bunch of money on SEM and paid social.
Yep.
And really, like I wish I had focused more on building the organic side of things, and because that's like we're getting like 70% of our traffic now through organic means.
Wow.
And it's really through like doubling down, like I said, in 2025. I wish I had done that earlier, and became more of an expert in that myself. And plus, like just as a personal growth, it would have rounded me out a little bit more. And I would say the second thing too, and I've learned this like through pretty much my entire career, is portfolio diversification with marketing partners. Because if you have all your eggs in one basket with one marketing partner, and they're like, "Oh, we just got a better deal from XYZ company that's going to pay us more," and then that's like when things, start to really change your numbers and your metrics. And we figured that out. We had a partner shut us off early, like right when we were fundraising too, and they were like 40% of our revenue at that point. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I'm like going around, trying to reach out to all these companies, trying to like make up that volume. And I wish I really just kind of like casted a wider net in the very, very beginning. I've learned that lesson multiple times, and it's happened to me. So I think like now I've like finally learned the lesson. So I think between those two things of just like diversifying your portfolio, and really like as a startup, at least like getting the groundwork done on SEO, I wish I'd done that faster.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson. I mean, so many marketers come into even a startup organization and just, turn on paid and turn on SEM and let the algorithm do its thing. And there's so many ways to, be a little bit more strategic on the earn side. Like I built a direct to consumers entire marketing channel early stages through podcasting with like $1 strong return on investment, and we couldn't get paid to perform for us worth a damn. So but like you said, the thing about that tactic was, we were entirely invested in the strategy, but we were invested in as many podcasters as we could find. So we had diversity of podcasters at least. And there were points of points of what we would call diminishing returns. You work with somebody long enough, the kind of people who are going to convert have fallen out of the bucket, and people do have shelf spans, and maybe got to put them back on the shelf and visit them a year later when their audience has changed or something like that. But I think that diversification is a really important point too, because it's not just diversification of partners. It's also and I think I can't remember. I think I had heard you mention like maybe it was like a big bank or something that you were partnered with, like a USAA, or I can't remember. But somebody like there's those corporate changes, but then there are the algorithmic changes or the platform changes or the data changes or the privacy changes. Like it's just never a good thing to be invested too heavily, whether it's a partner, a channel. So that diversification of, do you think that there's a good, like, never let your revenue go X high, like of total percentage of top line, or are you that scientific about it now?
My gut tells me it's like 20%, like from one single source. That's why I try to keep it to right now. However, if we land a couple whales, like some big car sales, then I'm happy if it goes higher than that too.
At least temporarily, right?
Yeah, at least temporarily, because at that point, if it's working well for you and that partner, then you have a case study that you could go out and take to other companies like that. But yeah, like right now with like my distribution source, it's like 20%, especially on the paid side, affiliate marketing. If it gets a little bit more than that, then I feel like I'm a little too reliant on that consumer, and they might start to know that too. And as a small startup, like I don't have the leverage I used to have at GEICO, where I could just like throw more money to get more volume. Like now I got to like be pretty smart, and I can't really like move my CPAs too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. What are you most excited about for the future of what you're building?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because like people, often kind of, I was like funny. I was at my wife's Christmas party last December, and people were like, "Oh, hey Ryan, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm in the extended warranty business," and they're like, "Oh." Um, yeah, so it's always like kind of like a tough thing, but I'm excited because like we truly are doing it the right way, and I truly believe just personal experience, but through multiple like of our customers, like the email is like, thank God I had this product, and it's a really useful product to have if it's sold at the right price and marketed the right way. And like I didn't even call us this before someone else called us. Like they're like, you guys are like the white knights of this industry. So I'm really excited to make Chaiz like a household brand, like a household brand name, for like doing it the right way and saving people money. Because like I mentioned before, like this is like for most Americans, like probably almost 100% Americans, like their car is their number one or their number two asset, and people are super reliant on their car. And so like I'm really excited like of us being able to like kind of go and make that next step and hopefully raise the next round. And so we could really start getting the word out there that yeah, you might have known about this product, but there's a better way to buy it, and there's a way to save money, and and to get that peace of mind. So yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride, and I'm just trying to get the mission out, the our mission out there as much as I can, and yeah, get people the product that like I said, most people should have, and just like you got to pay for it the the smart way, and don't get there's a lot of markups in the industry that are unnecessary, and so I'm thinking like we're bringing a much more streamlined and cost efficient product to the masses.
Yeah, well, the case study of two guys talking on the internet right now. Ryan started the company a lot based on his experience with his BMW, and we didn't get into it too much on the show, but I wrote about it in my prep. I bought a brand new, not brand new, but low mileage, low year Dodge Ram Eco Diesel off Carvana a couple of Christmases ago. And within, I'd say 9 months, I had, the heat kept going on the truck, and it's like, what is going on? I'd pull over to, the oil change place, and they'd be like, yeah, it seems fine. We'll top it off with coolant. Kept happening. Finally brought it in. $8,000 radiator repair on a car that I had just bought, 9 months later.
Cool. Yeah.
No,
we don't want anyone to go through that.
Exactly. And, again, you talk about time. Like I also, as an entrepreneur, launching this podcast and my fractional CRO, CMO business full time, I had exactly that much in the bank account. We were just kind of getting lift off on the startup. And then that was like our cushion. And then I was just like, oh, I have to cut a check right now for this whole thing. That could have gone into travel or marketing the business or going to cool conferences, and it was just like straight out the door. So
yeah, we actually did a survey to consumers one time on like what gives you more anxiety, and I can't remember all the other options, but one was like your check engine light goes on, and that one like rose to the top. And like I'm fairly handy. I know my way around cars. Like not, I'm saying like a mechanic. I'm like basic level, but like if my check engine light, I'm like, oh my gosh, how much is it going to cost? Who's going to try to rip me off? Where can I take it? And the good thing about like our plans, you can take it to any mechanic you want as long as they're ASC certified, which pretty much everyone is. And so it's just like, yeah, if you got a warranty, like hopefully through us, if that check engine light goes on, you could breathe a sigh of relief. Like it's like it'll be covered. You don't have to negotiate with people. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah, we don't want people to go through that.
Well, I think that's an insight for a future ad campaign. So,
yeah.
All right. Where do you want to send people to learn more about Chaiz, connect with you directly, etc.?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just, you can search my name, Ryan Hartman. Chaiz is CHAIZ.com. And yeah, you get a quote, like I said, in 30 seconds or less, and no PII necessary. We won't hunt you down. We don't, robocall. That's another thing that has made the industry so notorious, is like the robocall. So we don't ask for phone number, email address. You get prices right on the site, and you can buy 100% online.
Sounds good to me. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate your insights today, telling us a little bit about your origin story and your time as a founder in this exciting new venture. So we're wishing you the best of luck. We'll be rooting from the sidelines as you guys continue to grow. And for those of you at home, if this is the first time you're seeing the show, don't forget to subscribe. If you are listening to the show or watching us through a podcasting platform, if you give us an honest review, that's how we find a larger audience organically. And last but not least, if there's a automotive marketer, somebody from the insurance industry, or somebody who has had a horror story with a car that's gone wrong and cost them a bunch of unwanted headache and stress, don't forget to share the show. And with that, we'll go ahead and say goodnight. Thanks again, Ryan.